Top Boxing News.
All respect to Usyk's accomplishments, but Tyson Fury is the #1 heavyweight. So to answer your question, I totally disagree with what the Ring Magazine did, even though I have deep respect for their publication. They made a big mistake, in my opinion, when they vacated the Ring Magazine heavyweight title. So that's why Usyk is ahead of Fury, because Fury said he was retired. Everybody knew it was bullshit. I understand that their editors asked Tyson Fury about it. He said, fine, I'm giving up the title. But if they just kept their mouth shut and didn't bother to ask him, he'd have fought a couple of weeks later like he ended up doing. And because he retired, which was bullshit, the title was vacated. And when Anthony Joshua and Usyk had their rematch in August, they made that fight for the vacant title. But Tyson Fury was never truly retired, and everybody knows that. And he did come back in a timely fashion, and he did beat the shit out of Derek Chisora. And so he no longer has the ring title. So that's why he's below Usyk.
Yeah,
he really should be ahead of Usyk.
That is a very spirited Dan Rafael expressing his discontent at Ring Magazine's inquiry.
Tyson Fury, after the Dillian White fight earlier this year, announced his retirement more than once.
So much so that Ring Magazine asked him about it, and as a result of that, the Ring Magazine title was vacated.
You know how I'm always telling you that there are members of the media that are complicit with Tyson Fury's shenanigans, and they want him to be more than what he actually is? I mean, if what you're doing,
if it gets to the point to where Ring Magazine is asking you, are you really retired? Is it Ring Magazine that needs to keep their mouth shut, or Tyson Fury?
According to veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael, it was Ring Magazine that should have kept their mouths shut, and it was Ring Magazine who should have known better.
Oh, it was Ring Magazine, not Tyson Fury. It was Ring Magazine who should have known better.
Then why was Tyson Fury announcing his retirement?
What the hell was the point of all of that? And why is Dan Rafael expecting Ring Magazine as a publication to play along with Tyson Fury's shenanigans? In essence, enable him.
I say it all the time. Not everybody finds Tyson Fury's shenanigans at all charming.
Childish and infantile. Redundant is the best way to describe Tyson Fury's shenanigans, in my humble opinion. And I applaud Dougie Fisher, Michael Montero, and the others over there at Ring Magazine who decided
he keeps telling the world he's retired. So at minimum, what we're going to do is we're going to ask him about it.
And when they asked him about it, he doubled down on his retirement. So what were they expected to do? Just play along in the hopes that Tyson Fury would return?
If he didn't take his own status as Ring Magazine champion serious enough to stop playing around.
Stop telling people you're retired. Stop telling people you're retired if you know that you're not. If you know that you're going to fight again later on this year. Stop announcing this to the public, because the people at Ring Magazine are under the impression that you're not coming back based on what you're telling the world.
Dan Rafael says they should have known it was bullshit. They should have known better.
But shouldn't Tyson Fury have known better? He's the one who made the decision to announce his retirement more than once.
You say that Ring Magazine should have kept their mouths shut?
Perhaps it was Tyson Fury who should have kept his mouth shut and not officially announced to the world that he was walking away from the sport, that he had had enough. And he was asked about it more than once. He said it more than once.
Oh, what are you upset that Alexander Usyk is ranked ahead of Tyson Fury in both the Ring Magazine and TBRB rankings?
You will find that amongst Tyson Fury's core supporters, he can do no wrong, even when what's happening is more or less a self-inflicted wound. He never had to announce his retirement, and had he not done that, he would have never lost the Ring Magazine title.
You tell me what part of all of that was necessary.
Some guys out there, some of them are journos, they got a soft spot for Tyson Fury. They're real sweet on the guy, and
they can't fathom anyone else not being sweet on the guy. They can't fathom that there are other fight fans out there that don't find him at all charming.
They're not entertained by this stuff. On several occasions, I've told you that there are members of the media who want Tyson Fury to be more than what he actually is in more ways than one. And Dan Rafael,
he says that Tyson Fury should be the #1 heavyweight in the world.
He says it should be Fury, not Usyk. But Usyk's not the one who took to the public and announced his retirement on several occasions. And it really is as simple as that. If what you're doing reaches a point to where Ring Magazine is on the phone with you and they're asking you, are you really retired? Clearly, you're the one that's gone too far.
You need to get yourself in check, because people are starting to think you're serious.
So many of Tyson Fury's core supporters lack basic logic.
Basic reasoning skills. This is a simple case of causality.
So much of what Tyson Fury does is defended by his core supporters on the premise that he's a showman. He's
just playing around. He's not being serious.
And the boxing community at large is intended to do what? Do what exactly? Just play along?
For what?
It's neither here nor there anyway, because the latest on Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk's showdown, is that they're intended to meet no later than March 4th.
Tyson Fury being ranked behind Alexander Usyk in Ring Magazine's rank standings shouldn't be that big an issue to anyone anyway, because by all accounts, they're supposed to be fighting real soon, so we'll find out who's better.
But you notice how easy it is for Tyson Fury's core supporters, his fans, to get their titties in a twist and their panties in a bunch if you don't think he hails the moon and the stars, if you don't rank him as the #1 heavyweight.
Dan doesn't want to admit that he kind of did that to himself.
One, I think that he's a shithouse.
I could say the same thing about you, Curly Sue.
And I say it to his face. Two, he has got no courage to fight me.
That's bullshit. In the midst of what was your arbitration with Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua agreed to fight you, and all systems were a go. And if not for your unfinished business with Deontay, you announced that fight yourself the weekend right before the arbitrator ruled. You said that the fight was a go.
You're trying to rewrite history.
And three, he's a failure and a letdown to this country.
And what are you for lying about donating your entire purse from the first Deontay Wilder fight to charity? What does that make you?
What are you for rubbing elbows with a suspected cartel king?
You know, the guy that you thanked in 2020 for getting the Anthony Joshua fight done?
Your old buddy, Danny Kaye.
What are you for testing positive for a banned substance 5 or 6 years ago, then alleging that it came from eating wild boar testicles?
Anthony failed his country, that's what you're saying. But aren't you the guy that said you'd turn your back on the United Kingdom?
Do you remember that? It was Tyson Fury who was harboring hard feelings for the fight fans in the United Kingdom on the premise that he was mistreated.
He ended up fighting in the United Kingdom. I know. Luke ended up changing his mind. He does that a lot.
That doesn't change what he said, though, does it?
That's the problem with Luke, and that's the problem with a lot of his fans.
No accountability. No accountability on the part of the quote-unquote mental health advocate that only seems to use mental health issues as a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Get out of being held accountable for what he says.
What medications, if any, was Tyson Fury prescribed for his quote-unquote mental health issues? What physicians, what medical professionals did he seek out?
What consultations with what doctors?
This guy has been clinically diagnosed with some sort of a mental health condition. Surely it can't be that bad if he's regularly medically cleared to fight.
What's the matter? You were down in the dumps in 2015 because the IBF took your title?
Because you were lambasted for making anti-Semitic and homophobic statements that resulted in you becoming a social pariah.
Did the journals hurt your feelings? Did the fight fans?
You ran to the corner to cry for 2 years, come back, reinvent yourself as some sort of mental health advocate?
People aren't buying it.
And on the eve of what is supposed to be the Alexander Usyk undisputed title fight, Tyson Fury remains obsessed with Anthony Joshua, whether he brought him up himself or he's simply fielding questions from the media about him.
You still can't shut the fuck up about the guy.
Fury does not believe that Joshua is willing to step in the ring with Deontay Wilder. I'd like to see that fight, but I don't think AJ has got the minerals to take that fight. That's it. I just don't think he will fight anyone that will knock him out. I just don't. That is my personal opinion, Fury told behind the gloves. Wilder will definitely knock out Joshua. I'd even have a bet on it. I'd have 1 million quid on it with anybody. 1 million, even money. Wilder knocks Joshua out cold.
That's Fury's opinion, that Anthony Joshua would never fight Deontay Wilder. And yet, according to Deontay Wilder, he was offered more money for the Joshua fight than the Fury fight.
You think they offered Deontay Wilder all that money to fight somebody else? According to Deontay Wilder, the money they offered him, which was more money than he got to fight you, was for a Joshua fight.
But in your opinion, Anthony would never fight him. In your opinion, Deontay Wilder would knock him out. You're so confident of this, you're willing to bet $1 million on it.
And I'll tell you something. Maybe he would. Maybe he would knock out Anthony Joshua. Maybe he wouldn't. But in my humble opinion, the only reason you're talking up Deontay Wilder is to indirectly glorify yourself.
That what you're saying has less to do with Deontay Wilder and more to do with you.
Shelley Finkel does not want Anthony Joshua to take any interim fights. He wants to make Wilder versus Joshua right now. If Joshua is ready and willing to fight us next, that is what we want, and we will give anything to fight him. This has been a 5-year campaign, and each time they always try to say, we have avoided it. Finkel said to The Sun, we're saying, why not fight next? Let's just make the fight.
Didn't Shelley Finkel already admit to being contacted by Eddie Hearn ahead of the Robert Helenius fight?
Yes, he did. And in so many words, what Shelley Finkel said was they're not going to have that conversation about a Joshua fight until they get over the Helenius fight.
So that he could turn around and rush Anthony before he's had a rebound fight.
So, in other words, you get to have your rebound fight off of your 2 consecutive losses, but he doesn't. That's what you're saying. Is that how this works?
I remember right around that time, Deontay Wilder, in his own words, stated quite plainly that we're busy.
That's what he said after receiving that email from Eddie Hearn to start a dialogue, a preliminary conversation about potentially doing the fight down the line. That's what he said. He said, we're busy.
Fury only talks this guy up to indirectly glorify himself.
It's the only reason he does it. That's the truth. The truth is that Deontay Wilder, in spite of having debuted as a professional years before Anthony Joshua, he is, in fact, a less accomplished fighter whose face...
He's not a 2-time heavyweight champion like Anthony.
He's never been a unified champion. He's never unified a title. He's only ever beat 1 active reigning champion.
Anthony beat 3.
And Deontay Wilder doesn't have as many victories over top 10 fighters at heavyweight as Anthony does. The only real reason Tyson Fury talks him up the way that he does and sells him as this era's George Foreman or Mike Tyson.
The only reason he does it, the only real reason he does it is to indirectly glorify himself for having beaten him.
When Tyson Fury mounted his comeback before the first Wilder fight, you had a choice. You could have went after Anthony Joshua, or you could have went after Deontay Wilder. You chose Deontay Wilder. There wasn't more money in a Wilder fight than a Joshua fight, but that's what you chose.
Why'd you do that?
Tyson Fury, in his own words, said that he tricked Deontay Wilder and Al Heyman.
He made them think he was just a guy turning up for a few quid.
So that after he records 2 victories over him, he could start talking him up like he's this era's George Foreman.
If he's this era's George Foreman, who's his Joe Frazier? Bemain Stavern?
Give me a break. You two guys cherry-picked each other. He chose you because he thought you were a depressed, obese heavyweight with a substance abuse problem, and you chose him because you knew this guy don't know how to box. All he's got is a right hand.
Look, we've been all through this.
You can collect all the sound bites, play the audio, play the video, screenshot the articles, screenshot the quotes.
Play it all for Tyson Fury's mongoloid fans, and all they'll resort to is being deliberately obtuse.
No, it's the truth. There's nothing made up about what I just said. All I can tell you is what I think, and if you want to know what I think, and you're here, I'll assume that you do. Tyson Fury is a con artist.
Even if he is a good boxer, that doesn't mean he can't be a bullshitter. You can be 2 things. 2 things can be true at the same time, you know.
Not mutually exclusive. He's a good boxer who's an even better bullshitter. In men's bantamweight and super bantamweight news, Two-Tone the Superstar, content creator Two-Tone the Superstar, took to social media and tweeted, breaking, Naoya Inoue Monster Inoue versus Stephan Coolboy Fulton, ordered by WBO after petition. If Steph moves to 126, it's a duck.
That's exactly what it is.
To which Stefan Fulton replied, how is that a duck when I had my own fight set up months before Inoue even stepped in the ring? Y'all be saying anything. Just keep this same energy.
You should have thought about what you just said, because you just let the cat out the bag that the whole time you've been mentioning Inoue in a potential fight with him, you've had a rematch planned with Brandon Figueroa.
Months in advance, according to Stephen Fulton. Twitter user Ronnie Boy Fresh stated once again, if Inoue picks up your vacated WBO, Inoue will have no issues making the MJ fight, and whoever picks up that WBC in 2023, you dig? To which Stephen Fulton replied, I never vacated shit. What the fuck do y'all be talking about?
Ronnie Boy Fresh never said Stephan vacated the title. He said if.
If Inoue picks up the vacated WBO.
And I firmly believe that Stephan Fulton is going to vacate it at some point next year. I gave Stephan the benefit of the doubt for a long time.
But when news broke that he would be heading from super bantamweight up to featherweight at a time when Naoya Inoue is heading from bantamweight up to super bantamweight, it became obvious to me that we're not getting an Inoue versus Fulton fight.
Seemed like a long shot to me anyway.
A Twitter user that goes by the name Kafir Lime stated, you knew Inoue was moving up though. You could have waited for that fight. It's way bigger and far more competitive than any fight you've got lined up. These are career-defining fights, yet people don't get in the ring for them, to which Stephan Fulton replies, "You don't know shit you're talking about. This is why I don't respond to people."
Well, you responded this time, so those people, they must have hit a nerve.
And they're sick of being taken for a ride by fighters like you, who try to attach your name to the names of other, more popular fighters that are buzzing when you're not, so that you can hope to achieve some kind of notoriety. Not by fighting the guy, but by throwing his name around.
Let me remind you that it was Stephan Fulton that mentioned Naoya Inoue first. That's what got the ball rolling.
He expressed an interest in facing him, and Naoya Inoue reciprocated that interest, and he's taking the necessary steps to either get Stefan in the ring or force him to vacate that brown belt. Stephan Fulton continued, "I really have a lot to say, and I'm just waiting on the right time to really say how I feel. Just know that when I do this..."
Nobody wants to hear that fucking shit.
Nobody wants to hear that shit. While that guy was down there making waves at bantamweight, you took it upon yourself to start talking about him. You took it upon yourself and thought it necessary to bring him up and say you'd wipe him out, only so that when push comes to shove, you're leaving the super bantamweight division.
You managed to fool one or two rubes, some idiot named Hustler's Home,
who stated, "LOL, I can't wait until you fight," to which Stephan Fulton replied, "LOL, me too." It seems that Hustler's Home has effectively been hustled by Stephan Fulton because he's still holding out hope that he'll face Naoya Inoue.
How long have I been telling you that that shit ain't gonna happen?
What Stephan Fulton and his handlers want is for this to devolve into some kind of whose fault is it kind of deal. Whose fault is it kind of conversation to keep Stephan Fulton in the conversation, because if not for mentioning Naoya Inoue, he wouldn't be.
He wouldn't even be in the conversation.
Listen, unless you're going to forego that Brandon Figueroa rematch, unless you're going to forego that move upstairs to featherweight, I don't fucking want to hear it.
Nobody does, and that's why preemptively the fight fans, they're speaking out. They're letting Cool Boy Steph have it.
I don't ever want to hear Stephan Fulton talking about Naoya Inoue. If this is your career path, if this is what you're going to do, there's no reason you should ever bring up that guy again.
Maybe you can find one or two or maybe three people that are interested in seeing a Figueroa rematch. Maybe you can.
But if that's what you're doing, then keep Naoya Inoue's name out of your fucking mouth.
Your fucking mouth.
You're just a clout chaser, a shameless one, and fight fans are sick of it.
They're onto you. They know what you're doing.